Hey, Jackie, thank you so much for all your questions about the fun fantasy fiction manuscript I just finished. You were asking, how did I get the original idea? Um, the magic system in this book is based off of something that I realized after years of therapy, that the chakra system is very in line with my my growth process that I went through in therapy. So I don't know if you're familiar with it, but the chakras represent different energy centers in your body, and each one of them has a color that's associated with it. A lot of different details that I'm sure somebody much more learned than I am in the system could explain to you. But the part I'm using is that there's a chakra that's responsible for safety and like well-being, and the color is red. And then the sacral chakra is orange and represents creativity and presence, being able to be present and grounded, your five senses, sensuality. The solar plexus chakra is your yellow chakra is about autonomy and leadership and confidence and authority, agency, kind of owning yourself is the way I put it. The green is your heart chakra, which is representative of compassion, love for yourself, and then therefore love for other people. And then your throat chakra is represented by the color blue, and it's speaking your truth and knowing that your voice has worth. And then the third eye chakra, which is represented by the color purple, is all about insight and intuition and trusting your instincts. And then the crown chakra is represented by the color white and is really, and this is where somebody else could probably speak better than I can, but the way I would put it is this representative of wholeness and being all or not, and all and nothing. So the interconnectedness of everything, of all energy and higher beings and your higher self, and then knowing your perspective place in all of that as well. So I really felt like in therapy that I needed to be safe. I needed to learn that I was safe above and beyond everything. And once I learned I was safe, I began to be able to be present. And once I was safe and present, I was able to take ownership and have agency and choice. And once I was safe and present and had choice, I began to love myself and then therefore love other people. When all of those things were in place, then I had voice. That's when I started writing, actually. And then furthermore, my instinct and my trust in my own instinct grew, and then feeling like a universal connectedness or a oneness grew out of that as well. And I really changed spiritually along with all of that. So the magic system that my protagonist uses in the story goes in line with her character arc of having to grow into this person who can access all of those centers of energy in herself and experience the power that comes with that, which I think is the closest I've gotten to magic myself. So that's the idea and how it came to me. And yeah. So you also asked when I began. And that's another kind of funny story. I actually just started this as a fluke because when I was launching Liminal Life in those weeks leading up to it, it's a done deal. It's getting processed, it's getting printed, and the energy that it takes to launch a book is all very business associated, right? Like very masculine energy, very on all the time, and the marketing that went into that. And I just was finding myself like shriveling up for lack of writing. Like I wanted to be creating something. I needed to be creating something. And so I was on a walk with my oldest son one day, and he said, "Have you ever considered writing fantasy? Like we read fantasy voraciously here at home." and we play video games and we play D&D. And so like, that's just really part of who we are as a family and who I am as a person. And I just thought it was so funny. He asked, and I was like, I'd never actually considered it, which is so odd that I wouldn't have. But I did. He kind of planted that seed. And then, like I said in my other video, I've really felt like that magic system idea was very unique and something that I haven't seen any other author do. So I was really excited about that. And I started it. So then I started it last spring. So when my book launched May 1st. So I must have started it in March or April of 2024. And then you also asked what my process was like, and I'll tell you it was different during different stages of it. When I was writing it first, I was writing a lot, probably like 5 days a week, just because it was really fun. And I came back to it during the summer, maybe a couple of days a week. But again, it was just like, this is just for fun. I put everything down for a month after my launch and didn't do anything creative. I really, really needed to like fill the tanks back up. But then I think towards the end of the summer, beginning of the fall, I got on to one of Jacob's like 5-minute book clubs. And I said, I'm going to commit to 1 day a week where I put down 500 words. Like that's what it feels. It's hard for me to say like make a time a goal for my writing, because like I could sit here and stare out the window and I think that's part of the writing process, and I wouldn't get any words produced, right? So for me, a word count is just more motivating, and 500 seemed easy enough to do. And more often than not, when I would sink into that place, then I would end up producing 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 words instead. Around the time of the writing room retreat, well, the exact weekend on the flight down, I read Story Genius, or started Story Genius, the book that Carly Vare had recommended to me. And that book does a really beautiful job of talking about the psychology of story. And that's a big passion of mine as well. Like, I think we are very geared for story, and the safety center of the brain is like looking for solutions all the time. And we do that through story. We do that through watching how other people manage their problems and try to mimic that and learn from that, right? Or do not. And so she takes you through these really distinct exercises to focus you on a logical progression of your story. So at that time, that was the weekend of Halloween, I had 40,000 words down at that point. And then I started really structuring things a lot more tightly because of that book, and produced over the next 6 weeks another 60,000 words. My morning session is, you were asking about like what my writing process is. I come sit right here and do some morning meditation. I actually go through some affirmations with those chakras that I created for some workshops that I do. I pull some tarot and oracle cards. I journal a tiny bit about the cards, but I don't do morning pages. I'm not a morning pages person. That, to me, sucks my creative energy right away before I've done anything. So I don't have a motivation problem. So I just like have a half an hour of like coffee and quiet time and meditation. And then I just get on my laptop and I work all morning. I am much more like, I know that that's my creative, juicy time. And I typically sit here for anywhere from 2 to 5 hours. And I don't really have to give myself a word count anymore. Like, I got so progressed and rolling with the Story Genius plot cards. She always ends it with like, and so what's the logical next thing that would happen? It really helps me not like rabbit trail on top, because especially in fantasy fiction writing, like, ooh, I can write about all these crazy things, that it really helps you stick to that third rail, which is what she calls like the character arc, the meaning behind everything. Like, what are the misbeliefs that are being reformed into new beliefs? And what did that chapter do for that? third rail, and then and so what's the next logical thing. So that system has really helped me like roll right into the next thing. So yeah, motivation hasn't been a problem. Word count hasn't had to be a goal. I took a few days off, maybe like 10 days or so off around Christmas, because I'm like that boy on the back of the train in the Polar Express movie where he's like, Christmas just doesn't work out for me. Like, Christmas is really, especially after leaving religion, Christmas is just really shitty for me right now. The holidays often are right now. So I didn't produce anything during that time. But then literally December 26th, like the mist cleared, and I wrote for a week like mad and finished that the 100,000 word manuscript. And then since then, in the last 3.5 weeks, have gone through 2.5 edits now. And the first one through was just like catching things that were inconsistent, that didn't make sense for like where things had ended up. You can, being like almost a year later, I can tell that my writing style has changed. It's so much tighter and more cohesive, thank God, by the end of this. But the earlier stuff, I really needed to just spend more time being more concise with my words, and include things that were purposeful to the overall goal of the story. So that first time through was just really catching those things. That's what I printed it out for. I'm a very tactile, like want to touch it, want to turn the page, want to highlight, want to write notes kind of person. So I paid like $100 to have it printed like single-sided, double-spaced in that big binder so that I could do that. And then the second time through was getting back into Scrivener on the computer and like making those changes, and then also making other like I didn't just go down the paper and go, oh, change that word to that, and then always go from the paper to the laptop. I was also like reading on the laptop and reminding myself like where we are in the story, and what place this holds in the big picture of everything. And often what was very satisfying is often I would make a change on the screen, and then I'd be like, oh, I should check my paper again. And I'd look down in my book, and I had made myself a note to make that exact change. And so that was encouraging to me because my instincts had said the same thing twice. And that happened a lot through the book. So that was a really affirming process. And then at the end of my second time through, I began to realize that there was some really wasteful plot lines and big problems with tension, and some things that I was asserting that like I really like an author to assume that I'm an intelligent reader. And so I want to be that same type of author. I want to assume my reader's intelligence, and not like I like have a huge bone to pick with J.J. Abrams for what he did at the end of Lost, where like nobody ever explains the Smokey thing or the polar bear, or where they are in that chapel at the end. I am irate over just like assuming you can put these bizarre things in a story. And I think a lot of fantasy authors take liberty with the fact that they're creating these surreal places, so they don't really have to explain everything. Well, you know, I think Brandon Sanderson says in one of his trainings on fantasy writing, like it should make 2/3 sense. Like you can leave a third of it up to ambiguity and magic, but like most of it should make sense. So anyhow, I was just really noticing a lot of the things that really need to be tightened up in that way. And then I am one that like, I just love Easter eggs in stories. Like I love to like have an aha where the author slams something down on the page, and then you go, oh, that's why that other thing happened, and that thing and that thing. And I love noticing those things. And so this next time through, the one that I'm in the middle of right now, my goal is to increase the tension by taking away really blatant statements that, you know, this first time through, the first draft is such like bones of a piece. And it really did feel like just having the basics down. And now I'm going back through and like really massaging it and nuancing it and weaving things through. And so part of that has been like, when you write it for the first time, you're kind of writing it for yourself. You're telling the story, like, this is why this is happening. And then I started seeing things that I was like, but the reader doesn't need to know that right there. And so taking those out and leaving these more like breadcrumbs that lead to eventual ahas just feels a lot smarter and tighter and more interesting. And yeah, so that's where I'm at on this one. And then I actually have a plan to, now in the last couple of days, I've made a little addition to my editing list that says I want to go through another time just for word choice and lyricism. Like, I also really, really enjoy beautiful writing and interesting writing and really good word choice. And I want to go through another time before I really give it to readers and do that. Well, I might give it to a couple of my partners that I'm working with on just evaluating each other's work before I do that. They might help me with that edit. But yeah, I hope that answers all your questions. I'm going to go check your list that I screenshotted, and if I have to add anything, I'll make another little video. But thanks for asking. I hope it helps. Like, I really love hearing other authors' processes as well. Sometimes it's really affirming, and sometimes it just gives you ideas and suggestions. So yeah, I hope that was helpful, and thanks for asking. Okay, so the one thing that I think I kind of missed that you were asking about is like how much do I produce per week and how often do I write? These last 2 months, besides that little 10 days of like Christmas depression hiatus that I took, I write like 7 days a week. It fills me with energy. So I don't, I say that. And the reason I'm giving you a caveat is because like, I feel like it sounds like I'm a workaholic. Maybe I am, but I feel like it's just really satisfying to me. And if I weren't writing for those 2 hours in the morning, like, I don't know what else I'd be doing. It's dark outside. It's winter. Like, nobody else is up. Like, I don't know what else I would be doing. I'd probably be reading book. I read books in the afternoon. That's what I do to refill my tank and get ideas. But yeah, I read. I think I had mentioned in one of the other videos, I sit down and write for 2 to 5 hours in the morning, but that's every day. And you said something like, how many words do I produce a week? Lately, the last few weeks, I've been churning out like a chapter a morning, which is, anywhere from 2,000 to 3,000 words, like 2,500 on average. So several thousand words a week. Like if I did those 60,000 words in the 6 or 7 weeks since the retreat, that's like almost 10,000 words a week. And that feels like a lot to say that, but I don't know. That's where I'm at in my process right now. Who knows if it'll always be like that, but I tend to be a producer and to not struggle coming up with word count. So, but I did for a while last fall, so you never know. Anyhow, thanks again for asking, and hope everything helps.